Tournament. All right, as we were saying, Knicks and Cavaliers. Knicks a 2-0 lead. Cleveland in full desperation mode, down 2-zip to Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift in the house. That was about the extent of the Cleveland motivation in this one. Look at Mikal Bridges all the way. He was 11 of 15 from the field in this one. Knicks fans traveled well. They took a 9-1 lead on Cleveland. More in the first quarter. Karl-Anthony Towns, a harbinger of things to come. Cleveland's defense was atrocious. Midway through the second quarter, James Harden to the paint. Spin cycle. Harden had 19. Kelce fired up. Cleveland within 2. And then a couple possessions later, Harden all the way down Broadway to tie it at 48. Offense wasn't the problem for the Cavs. It was defense. Look at Jalen Brunson right to the cup. Brunson had 38 in game 1. He had 14 assists in game 2. In game 3, he did a little bit of everything, getting to his spot, knocking it down. Knicks in front at the break, 8-1 in the postseason when leading at halftime. Cleveland 3-6 when trailing at the half. Knicks led it by 6 at the intermission. Third quarter, more from New York. In transition, OG Anunoby to Bridges, one of 27 assists for the Knicks in this game. Midway through the third, Anunoby, what a weapon he is. You figure you got to account for Brunson and Towns. Anunoby does it all, and then Brunson to the cup. Knicks pulling away in front by 12. A minute to go in the third. Harden. And 1. Cleveland within 7 after the made free throw. But at the other end, Brunson, step back. You don't know me like that. He had a huge alley-oop assist before the end of the third quarter. Knicks led by 9, headed to the fourth. Early fourth, Hart, Bridges. The lead was 14. Cleveland had no answers. And then Landry Shamet off the bench again for the Knicks. New York in front by 14. Shamet one more time. Shamet was 4 of 5 from the field. Every one of them a three-pointer. 14 points off the bench. The Knicks in control. And then Brunson. 41 minutes, 30 points, 6 assists. It won't be talked about, but the Knicks made their free throws, 24 of 27. And this one is all over but the crying. 121-108. The Knicks, in what was a must-win game for the Cavaliers, come away with the victory and a 3-0 series lead.
You hear chants, "Let's go Knicks." MVP when you're on the free throw line. You're on the road. Just what does that mean to you guys?
I don't know. I'll explain. I'm at a loss of words, but I like the way we fought, most importantly. But the Knicks fans, they travel, man, and they're going to be hurt in whatever building they're in.
Landry Shamet, just describe the impact that he had on this game, particularly in the fourth quarter.
He played big time, and that's just the way he does. He's a true professional, and the way he just attacks the game and approaches the game. Whatever is asked of him, he shows up and he does it.
You guys haven't lost in a month. Teams always want to be peaking at the right time. 10th win in a row. Just what does it feel like for you guys as a group to just be in this flow right now?
Our mindset hasn't changed. We're trying to get better every single day. We're trying to learn even from wins. There's a lot that we can get better at. There's a lot we can control. A lot of mental errors that we need to clean up. But we're always just looking for ways to try and get better.
Game 4 on Monday. Chance to go to the finals. What's it going to take?
Just focus on one possession at a time. The way we've been having that mindset over these past couple weeks, we have to continue it. If not, it has to be better.
All right. Thank you, Jaylen.
Thank you.
Let's bring in someone who donned the jersey of both teams during his career, and that's Iman Shumpert. Iman, plenty to unpack from this game, but with the Cavs now on the cusp of elimination, what is the biggest takeaway from your perspective of what you saw in their performance tonight?
I thought that they lacked a sense of urgency. I think that this is a back-to-the-wall style game. You let go of game 1. You're coming into game 3. You're trying to get your fans excited, and you're supposed to play like desperate men. play like you haven't drank water and I don't know how long. It needed to be a desperation, and I didn't see the urgency. The biggest takeaway that I took from being able to locate times that there was no urgency was where is the transition defense for this Cavaliers team? When a person breaks past the three-point line and gets into that key situation or gets into that paint situation, there has to be two guards back. There has to be a last line of defense. I thought that they did a very poor job of saying, let's pay attention to the details and pay attention to the small mistakes, the little mistakes that led to easy buckets for the Knicks. Let's take those away in Game 3. I didn't see that adjustment. I didn't see the attention to detail. It was honestly a disappointing performance from the Cavs.
And Shump, we can talk about Landry Shamet, and we will. He was great off the bench. But the Knicks starting lineup was dominant. Every player in double figures here. What is it about that group that has given Cleveland so many problems?
Well, what they're doing is they're changing sides of the floor. I think early on when we watched the Knicks, especially when they had problems with scoring the basketball, they had cold spells that happened. What they did was they put Karl-Anthony Towns in a high post area. We put him on the sideline into a 21 action, and then there's cutting, there's movement, but the ball changes sides of the floor, and we have Jalen Brunson to have a great floor game and say, hey, anytime we aren't going to those actions, now that we have, and I've sprayed the ball out a little bit, I can get my wiggle room. I can get downhill. I can make sure that we get FGAs and FGMs rather than get us TOs. And I think that he's done a great job of just being patient, letting things come to him, and showing the Cavaliers that no matter what they throw at him, he's going to pick it apart.
All right, Iman Shumpert following the Knicks Game 3 victory. Shump, thanks for the perspective on a night the Knicks take a commanding 3-0 series lead here in the Eastern Conference Finals. New on SportsCenter now. A lot of questions to be answered for Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson.
Kenny, you mentioned after Game 2 needing to go home and get your legs underneath you a little bit. Do you think that this group is out of gas?
I don't want Danny. It's hard for me to judge, right? I did think their physicality and energy level was much higher than ours. Kind of just call it what it is. But credit to them. I thought their physicality really got us. They turned us over. Early. They were into the ball, very handsy. The whole grab and hold thing, which is part of it, and we struggled to play through that physicality tonight.
Why do you think that you guys in this series, and especially tonight, have struggled from the perimeter shooting the basketball?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking. I'm sure our shot quality was good again, just not going down, and you got to run back, keep running back on defense. It puts a lot of pressure on your defense, especially a really good offensive team like that.
Yeah, I think Fred was telling me before the game, like, your expected shooting percentage is like 8.
Yeah.
Going into tonight was like 8 points lower than what it should be. So, I mean, that speaks to what you've been saying.
I think we won the expected all 3 games.
Yeah.
So it's just, but there's expected and real. This is where we always get into that conversation, Joe. So, but they took, They were the more physical team tonight. I think their physicality and energy, and we just couldn't get to that level to combat it. I think the turnovers hurt us, Joe, and I think Shamet getting loose there. They had a role player step up on the road. But there was no whatever the stats say tonight. They were the much better team.
We're now joined by Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A., after Game 2 on Thursday, you used the words alarming and flabbergasted right here on SportsCenter to describe the Cavs' defense. What words would you use for their performance tonight?
Pathetic. Very, very pathetic. Gave up 37 points in the first quarter. Didn't come out with any degree of urgency whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if we did an investigation and we discovered that half the team had already made vacation reservations. I mean, it just looked that way. They were devoid of any kind of urgency whatsoever. And the New York Knicks are just playing together. I understand that they're flowing. I understand that they can serve to demoralize you. There's no way around that. But the flip side to it is you're on your home turf, and there's an incredible level of urgency that comes attached to it. And the New York Knicks just gave it to them. Brunson had his 30. Of course, Anunoby had his 21. Can't say enough about Mikal Bridges and the way that he's been playing as of late in these playoffs. He is just in his bag. He is flowing. And Landry Shamet coming off the bench and dropping 11 points in the fourth quarter. All of those things can contribute to a victory. But what possible explanation could you have if you watch some of the plays that took place as the game waned, when you saw the absence of urgency in terms of their defensive effort? It was absolutely non-existent whatsoever. They gave up. They caved. And as a result, just bring out the broomsticks. I think you saw Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA and stuff like that in the immediate aftermath while the rest of the crew was on the set. He was sweeping the floors of the studio because he's bringing the brooms. He's bringing the brooms because in Cleveland, it's a mess.
It is indeed that, Stephen A. You know, we talked last night following the Oklahoma City win about the play of Jared McCain, and you mentioned Landry Shamet. He was that tonight for a Knicks team. How would you characterize the overall depth of this Knicks squad?
Well, you know what? You didn't realize how good it was. You had expectations at the beginning of the season, and then obviously Mike Brown wasn't utilizing his bench to the manner that you thought that he would. And then you had some question marks about them, and then you saw Mikal Bridges nosedive. You had some serious questions about him, but give credit where credit is due. If I was loud and making noise when Mikal Bridges was struggling, I'm damn sure going to be just as loud in praising him. He was fantastic in this game, hitting all but 3 of his shots, giving you over 20, giving you stout defense along the way, letting you know you couldn't leave him open. And then Landry Shamet has been a godsend. He has come off the bench and has just been drilling shots from long range all over the place. That has opened things up for a guy like Jalen Brunson to operate. It's opened things up for Karl-Anthony Towns to be the facilitator that he is. And because it's pulling people away from the basket, it's even giving the likes of Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby room to operate on the interior, which again can serve to demoralize the Cleveland Cavaliers as it has shown. But you still don't expect a team trying to get to the NBA Finals to look so lethargic defensively. No energy whatsoever. Change has got to be coming in Cleveland. I'd be shocked if there were a Game 5 at this point. They look like they've already made their reservations for off-season vacation. They just look that way. You can see it.
When we talk about the Knicks, though, and the way that they are winning these games, the variety of players who are contributing night in and night out, the variety of ways in which we see them get the dub, 10 straight wins for this Knicks team.
Yeah.
I mean, just talk about the impressive nature of that stretch.
Well, here's what you have to look at when you think about the impressive nature. The New York Knicks came into this season with an owner in James Dolan that said we should make the NBA Finals. They had fired Tom Thibodeau, who took them within 2 games of the NBA Finals last year. So let's be real. Nothing less was going to suffice. If you lost, it had damn sure had better be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And even then, that was pushing it. But here they are within 1 game of the NBA Finals now. They were top 6 both offensively and defensively in terms of efficiency. But then when you take into account the playoffs, you go down 2-1 after 2 consecutive 1-point losses to Atlanta. And what do you do thereafter? Not only do you win 3 straight, but you're up by 47 in the first half of the closeout game in Atlanta. You go up against Philly, who has a 3-1 deficit. They overcome it against Boston, knocking off the Boston Celtics. And it's supposed to be a legitimate series. You sweep them, not just beat them. You sweep them, and you blow them out their own building in a closeout game. And now here you are having won a 3rd straight game against a Cleveland Cavaliers team, albeit back-to-back 7-game series against Orlando and Detroit, obviously. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the Knicks are a superior team because they are a team, not a compilation of individuals, with a point guard in James Harden who can't seem to play beyond the pick and roll, with a guy in Donovan Mitchell who seems completely exasperated and exhausted and overwhelmed, with big men in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley who haven't been utilized well enough by a coach who was widely respected coming into these playoffs, and now his level of cachet has dissipated dramatically because we're seeing some of the brain fog that has taken place in terms of how he's coaching the team and how effective they have been. These are the kind of things that can happen when you're going up against a real team who can defend, who's hungry, who's talented, and could put the ball in the hole. These are the New York Knicks that we're talking about. They're the superior team, and they've made it very, very clear that when it comes to the Eastern Conference, they're about to go to the NBA Finals. This series is over.
And they're a team, Stephen A., that hasn't lost a game since Karl-Anthony Towns made a cameo in The Devil Wears Prada 2. So shout out to Anne Hathaway and that good luck she's bringing this squad. Stephen A., thanks so much for the insight.
No problem.
New on SportsCenter now, let's head back to the podium as Mike Brown addresses the media after the win.
You know, our guys played a good game. Chris Gent challenged our guys to start the game right, especially with the execution of the first play. And our guys did it. Our guys, they were locked in from the beginning of the game, and it showed through that first offensive play, through the first few minutes of the game. We got a lot of great contributions from our guys. You know, Josh was the connector that he was. 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. OG was fantastic. He hit some timely buckets for us. Play after play after play after play. He had 21. He was really, really good. 7 rebounds, and he did a pretty good job of trying to keep Allen off the glass. That's who he matched up with. Cat, I mean, he was our hub offensively. 7 assists, 0 turnovers. He was really good for us offensively and defensively. The 3 steals, but his ability to fire back in the pick and roll situation was really good. Mikal, I mean, man, he just got to his spots. Mikal got to his spots all night. He hit big shot after big shot. And on top of that, he had 6 rebounds, and then trying to defend James, Hall of Famer, without fouling him. This really good ball game from Mikal. Jaylen, he's MVP. He's an MVP candidate. He's supposed to do what he did tonight. He's got to go score it, or he's got to command a double team and make the game easier for everybody else. Our bench, everybody that came on the floor, they played great minutes for us, but I got to take my hat off to Landry. We put him on the floor in Josh's spot. They're paying a lot of attention to Jaylen. Somebody's going to be open if the floor is spaced, and we're getting off the ball in a timely manner. And literally, because of the way they're playing D, we're just playing conceptually. We're really trying to play fast, trying to space the floor the right way, trying to touch the paint, trying to make quick decisions with the basketball. So our guys are just doing a great job playing out of our concepts, especially when they're blitzing, soft blitzing, kind of zoning up, and doing different things defensively. But Landry was huge. And then, on the other end of the floor, he's got to match up with a guy like Donovan Mitchell, which is a tough cover for anybody. And you're not going to stop him, but you got to work your tail off. And Landry's trying to work. 2 things happened in the second half. I thought throughout the whole game, I thought we did a good job of trying to play fast. We want to play fast against these guys at every opportunity we can get. We don't want to go against their set defense all the time, so we got to keep trying to play fast. And then our guys did a better job in the second half of trying to defend without fouling. They tried to show their hands and lead with their chests, and we got to continue to do that in Game 4.
Mike Brown highlighting the Knicks win, pointing to Karl-Anthony Towns, 7 assists, no turnovers, and the Knicks 3-0 lead. When we come back, we're headed back to Cleveland. Brian Windhorst, some pointed thoughts on the Cavaliers next. Back on SportsCenter, the 10th straight win for the Knicks this postseason. They're the 10th team ever to do that in a single postseason. 5 of the previous 9 went on to win the NBA title, most recently the Celtics 2 seasons ago. In the building to witness it all, our NBA insider Brian Windhorst. Brian, I just never felt like Cleveland's best tonight was going to be better than the Knicks, who again have now won 10 consecutive games. What has this series shown us about this Knicks team?
They are a terrific team. And when you look at the way that they were constructed to eventually play this well. I don't know if anybody saw this coming, but when you watch specifically how their wings have played in this postseason, and they were huge tonight. And I'm talking about OG Anunoby, talking about Mikal Bridges. Like, nobody's going to shout from the streets in New York about how many draft picks the Knicks gave up for Mikal Bridges right now, because it is the first thing from everybody's mind. They made the investment in both of those players, giving draft picks and then big contracts for exactly the type of play that they are doing in this series. You add in Josh Hart, you add in, Landry Shamet coming off the bench. The Knicks are dominating this series on the wing. The Cavs have multiple all-star wings that are being outplayed by those guys. And I think one of the most impressive things, I was in the tunnel when the Knicks players came off the court. They're going to the finals, okay? No one's ever blown a 3-0 lead. They're playing great. They're going to the finals for the first time in all these guys' lifetimes, adult lifetimes. And they are totally business as usual. It was very impressive.
That is impressive, but we got to talk about the flip side here, Wendy. This Cavs team has not looked the same this series as they did earlier in the playoffs. What have you noticed and what have you learned about the Cavaliers these last 3 games?
Yeah, there's a scenario in which the Knicks would play at a certain level and the Cavs would play at a certain level that they could compete with the Knicks, but this level isn't it. And you see it on the defensive end of the court. They are just not good enough defensively to bail themselves out with the way their offensive level is right now. They've been a sort of a middling defensive team throughout the year. They did not have good defensive intensity tonight. And then you compound it by the fact that they have just not shot the ball well. This is a team that thrives on good outside shooting. They have been under 30% basically for the series. There are moments, where they look like they can get it going. But for the most part, and the Knicks have let them get open shots. I mean, the Knicks are doing a good job defensively, but the Cavs have not had an issue generating open shots. They just haven't been able to execute. You do wonder if fatigue is playing a factor, because the 2 7-game series and the way Game 1 was so emotionally gutting in overtime, maybe that's affected their legs a little bit. But to beat the Knicks that are this good right now, this is not an acceptable level that the Cavs are showing.
I used to host NBA Tonight with Mike Brown. He's at this point, he's on his 5th team, right? Cleveland, Lakers, the Dubs, the Kings. Now the Knicks. He's got the Knicks one win away. Cleveland twice. He's got the Knicks 1 win away from the NBA Finals. What a showing tonight there in Cleveland. Brian Windhorst, thanks for joining us here on SportsCenter. That's a story in the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference Finals resume Sunday in San Antonio, and when they do, OKC will be without guard A.J. Mitchell. The second-year man has been ruled out with a right calf strain. Jalen Williams, who missed Game 3 due to a hamstring injury, is questionable. Depth, though, is not a concern for OKC. They got 76 bench points in Friday's win. So, Maddie, I think they'll be all right.
Looking pretty good. Let's take it to the ice, shall we? Because the Canadiens take...
Of course, the story of the night, the Knicks now a 3-0 series lead over the Cavaliers. New on SportsCenter, Cavs guard James Harden.
We're just not making them, and that's a part of the game. When you make shots, it's a little bit easier. When you miss them, it's a little bit more difficult. Which at times we miss shots, but we found ways to still win games. That's a part of it. But we got another opportunity on Monday.
What's just the message as you approach Game 4, knowing that
one game at a time? That's all you can control.
James, what will it take to beat this team?
We gotta make some shots. I don't know how many shots we made or missed, but I feel like we haven't really made shots since the first couple quarters in Game 1. We gotta make shots. Not just this team, any team.
James, you guys 7 games with the Raptors, 7 with Detroit. Is fatigue a factor for this team?
No excuses. We got a game plan. We got to execute our game plan a little bit better, and then we got to have the confidence and find out how to make some shots. We do that, then we give ourselves a chance.
Kenny said that heads aren't hung. How are you guys lifting yourselves up as a team?
No, we're still confident. Like, the confidence is never going away. Like, we're more than capable. We just need some things to a shift change and make some shots to the series turns around.
You talked about the shot making, but defensively,
last question,
sort of allowed these guys to get loose.
I mean, it's when you're not making shots, is you put more pressure on your defense, so you're going to be on defense much more. You know what I mean? Then you got to take the basketball out of the rim. So that's a part of, like, basketball is obviously both sides of the ball. But if we can make some shots, it gives our defense a chance to get back and set up half court. You know what I mean? So it's a balance of both of those things. But they're a great offensive team. You know what I mean? They got to stretch big, and they obviously, Brunson handling the ball. So they're a difficult matchup. But it just makes it more difficult when you're not making shots. Then you got to keep relying on your defense, which they are a good team, so they're going to score.
How much is not making?
Coming up, a deeper look at how Jalen Brunson has the Knicks on the brink of a clean sweep of the Cavaliers. That's next. Kevin Maddie back on SportsCenter as the Knicks and Cavaliers Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Jalen Brunson listens to Justin Bieber before every game since college. Fun fact I learned about him recently. Brunson got off to a slow start in the first half, but if you need time, just take your time. Now, early in the third, Brunson hit the midi, baseline, bucket, got it. Later in the third, Knicks lead 65-57. Later in the third, Brunson, another jumper from along the baseline. What do you mean? Looking confident right here. Brunson heating up. Under a minute left in the third. Same spot, Knicks lead 89-80. Getting things going right there. Scored or assisted on 14 points in the third quarter after just 13 in the first half. Now Landry Shamet went off in the fourth quarter. Brunson kicks it out to Shamet, who knocks down the corner three. The next Knicks possession, Josh Hart kicks it out to Shamet, another triple. Knicks lead 102-88. Less than a minute later, Shamet, step back three, bucket over James Harden. He had 11 off the bench in the fourth quarter. Knicks win 121-108.
Yeah, it's important. Our starts and how we start games is extremely important. I thought we had the right mentality, physicality. Thought we weathered their storms and their little runs and the swings of the game. Coach was really big on talking about the emotion of this game. Being down 2-0, coming home, you're going to get a pretty good punch from that team. So, and their crowd's going to be in it. I thought we did a really good job staying level through all of that. Got some really good performances from everyone, and we all just kind of stayed the course, stayed together. Our communication was great, and weathered their best punches tonight, and were able to come out with the win.
When you hit
a win they do. New on SportsCenter, OG Anunoby and Karl-Anthony Towns.
No, I mean, just keep your mind on the task at hand. It's game's over. We found a way to win tonight, but we got to have the same desperation like it's 0-0. It's game one. We got to go out there. We got to execute at a high level, and we got to be disciplined in our game plan.
G, congrats on the win tonight.
Thank you.
Commanding 3-0 lead, one game away from making the finals. Last time you were not available to play for Toronto, and this time you're back from injuries. So what's your mindset going into game 4? Same team, same location. How do you guys extend the momentum?
Like Kat said, just come out with desperation. Like, it's still 0-0. Come out, just tonight's over, focus on the next game, and try to win the game.
He's always good at being able to identify when to leak out in transition and also when to stay back on defense. That's something you're good at too. He's been especially dominant in that way during this series, like just knowing when to go in transition and when to stay back on Harden. What is the art of that? What makes somebody able to make that read? Where are you looking? What are you doing in order to figure out how to time that?
Mm-hmm. Probably just the awareness of if we've gotten the rebound or if someone else has gotten the rebound, and then just the quick, just his first 3 steps, he's just gone every time. He's amazing at that. He just runs out, and guys like Kat will just throw it and hit him in stride.
All right, so from the focus of the Knicks to what is now desperation time in Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell here on SportsCenter.
Let's start with making shots. Let's start with getting some stops and making some free throws.
You've expressed your support for Cleveland over and over and over again and talked about how great the fans are.
1,000%.
How difficult is it in Game 3 to hear the Knicks chants?
I mean, I'm from New York. This doesn't shock me. They do it in every arena. It's like Cowboys fans. Just who they are. I don't think it's a Cleveland thing. It wasn't just us. You look at Philly. Look at how Knicks fans are. I was one back in the day. So, like, you know what I mean? So that had nothing to do with what we got going. Cleveland's best fans in the world. I stand on that. Saying so that doesn't affect that. That doesn't label who Cleveland is. I have nothing but love for the fans in Cleveland. And we didn't get it done for our home crowd tonight. And we didn't get it done, which enables the Knicks fans to go off like they did. If we get it done, then they're silent, right? So we didn't do our part. When we ran out, they were loud, and Cleveland fans were behind us, but we didn't do our part, and that's the result. Mm-hmm.
Donovan, why do you think that as a group, the shot making from beyond the arc has fallen off so much in the series for you guys?
Sometimes the ball just doesn't go in. We're getting good looks. Sometimes it just doesn't go in.
How much has that aspect of things affected who you guys, maybe more so tonight, were defensively?
I mean, yeah, you try your hardest not to let that happen, right? And then give them credit. They took those misses and got out in transition. Even off makes, they got out in transition. So it wasn't just like our half-court defense, right? They were getting out and putting us in different scenarios in transition. And when you miss shots, it gives them more of an opportunity. I mean, we shot 50% from the field, but from three, that's not necessarily as much. But when they get going in transition, and then me, Evan, James had 5 turnovers apiece, that doesn't help. They were active, and we weren't able to control that, especially their pace and transition.
Well, I know you're not really making excuses, but playing every other day, 3.5 weeks. How much does that fatigue or that just kind of games add up to sort of?
I mean, we did it to ourselves. We did it to ourselves. So we can't be mad now.
Message now down 0-3.
One game at a time. Let's get Monday and go from there.
You brought the turnovers on yourself there. What are they doing defensively? It looked like when Evan got into the pocket, they were really fanning out and kind of reading his reads and kind of knowing where the ball was going. Are they doing anything differently defensively to make it tough?
I'm just being active. I think they saw, like, remember, I think somebody asked me something about Evan not shooting as much in the second half of last game or not getting a shot, because the first half he was in that game he was doing a phenomenal job of making that read, right, and we were getting good looks. Ultimately, we didn't make the shots off of those. So now they made an adjustment. They saw that we were getting open looks, and they took those away. So that's, you know, and credit to him and Jay for continually trying to hit the open man. Like, that speaks to the unselfishness of both of them. But, you know, you give them credit. They were active. They got in the gaps. And some of it we just made dumb passes. So it wasn't all of them. Sometimes it was on us too. But that would be why they made an adjustment to Evan's playmaking ability the first 2 games. And it makes it made a little bit tougher.
Can we just acknowledge we have never seen a run like the one the Knicks are on this postseason? They have outscored teams by 22.5 points over their last 10 games. That is the best 10-game span by any team in NBA history, regular or postseason.
Knicks now a win away